The salary cap is the lifeblood for NFL teams. It allows you to sign free agents to help supplement your roster. It helps you keep your own guys in-house, extending them out so that they can be part of your team for years to come. But everyone always freaks out. It's like, oh, we're going to sign a guy with what money? We're going to extend a guy with what money? Blah, 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 blah. But as we've proven time and time again, the cap is indeed a myth because... And also, you look at the Rams, F those picks and also F that cap because they just extended everyone to premium contracts, keeping the band together. It's like, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. We'll kick the can down the road. And we wanted to take a look at the Vikings cap situation over the next 5 years. Anthony Reinhardt on the Twitter machine, he did up great infographics for basically every team. Take a look at what the cap hits are going to be, what's dead, what's not, as well as the cap situation going forward. So, zooming in and enhancing. So, it's broken down by who has premium cap hits, who has medium cap hits, and then some of the smaller boxes are league minimum, etc. And also, if you look in the orange, those are the dead cap hits from the void years that the Vikings have tacked onto a couple contracts. So if you see Anthony Barr is on the books this year with a void year, Diesel Dalvin next year with a void year, Kirk Cousins, Danielle Hunter 2 years from now with a void year as well. But the Vikings currently chilling. They have around $7.5 million in cap space once you factor in Evans and Ingram and another draft pick signing because they don't have their entire draft class signed yet. But you see from the giant chunks, it is majority. The majority of the cap is taken up by Kirk Cousins. Now, by majority, I don't mean like the whole thing, but in terms of the largest cap hit, yes, Kirk Cousins is that guy. And you can say, well, that's what's holding the Vikings back. But it is par for the course in terms of having a quarterback on a premium contract. It just sort of is what it is. So $31.4 million for Kirk this year, $36.2 for Kirk next year, as well as $12.5 for Kirk in 2024. Because remember, after they signed that one-year extension, they kick the can down the road a bit. And it's not all bad because you could say, like, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, but not necessarily because kicking future cap hits down the road, you are banking on the cap rising precipitously as it has basically every year where it wasn't Rona affected since they put in the salary cap. So you're banking on that. So the time value of the cap that you're kicking down the road, you're good to go because it's not like they charge you interest on the salary cap that you put forward. So $10 million in cap this year is worth less than. It's not $10 million in cap next year. It's not $10 million in cap the year after that because $10 million now actually is going to cost you more than $10 million in the future just because of the cap continuing to rise with the new money, new merchandise, new TV deals, etc. And then you got Adam Thielen at $20 million next year, Harrison Smith at $19.2. Are they going to see those cap hits? I don't know. I think that they could be candidates for potentially moving on. I think Thielen less so than Harrison Smith, especially with his redone deal. Now, this doesn't factor in dead money. But you look at Dalvin at 14-1, Kendricks at 11-4. So you do have some veteran contracts on the books. Now, they could certainly be redone. If they if they stay with the Vikings, they can be restructured and they can move those cap hits along because that's why we always talk how the cap is a myth. It's not so much that it's a complete myth, like a story that they tell little kids about gnomes and fairies and gingerbread houses and whatnot, but it's that the cap is extremely fungible. It is. You can always shrink cap hits. You can always convert base salaries to roster bonuses. You can spread out hits, etc. So even if these guys are back next year, I don't see them at full freight. Like, especially Kirk Cousins. Like, if Kirk is still the guy, if he has the best season of his career this year, if the Vikings get something done, maybe they hoist that Drew Barty one time, I could see the Vikings extending Kirk Cousins again. I mean, because he's only under contract through next year, even though he's got cap hits through 2024. So, I mean, if Kirk wins the Super Bowl, could you see a Matthew Stafford type extension? I think it's extremely possible. And in 2024, you got Zadarius Smith leading the way at 21.7. Same thing with Adam Thielen. It's highly unlikely that they'll see those cap numbers and see that money, but it is what it is. And also Harrison Smith in 2025 at $22 million and Dalvin at 14.5 in 2025. That ain't happening. It just ain't happening, man. And the only veteran extended through 2026 is Brian O'Neill. And also the only guy on the books through then is technically Louis Seam, because that's when his fifth-year option would kick in. So, hey, 2026, Seam and O'Neill versus the world. We'll take that, man. It just speaks to how crazy the NFL is, how quickly it gets turned along. Like, remember this team from 2017? How many guys are remaining from that team on the roster currently? What? Thielen? Harrison? They're really about it? Oh, Kendricks? Daniil? That about it? There you go. Technically Dalvin, even though he tore his ACL that year. But looking at the Vikings cap situation now, we got the top 51 as well as cap space. Now, you don't have dead money factored in there, but the Vikings only have around $40 million in dead cap in 2024, so that's pretty important. And also it slightly factors in the increase of the cap. But it doesn't it completely calculate, because going out, it hasn't been announced what the 2023 cap is, salary cap is, let alone 2024, 25, 26, etc. But you see how quickly things get freed up, because even though the Vikings do have Kirk Cousins at full freight the next 2 years and a $12.5 million cap hit in 2024, then it just really opens up. And that's exactly what happens, because even if you're a team that slammed up against the cap, like even if you're the Saints, who came in $100+ million over the cap this offseason, they were able to get under it before free agency, and they're going to be in relatively fine cap situation. That's why we're talking about the cap as a myth. It's more guidelines rather than laws. So, I mean, the Vikings, even though it's a little tight right now. Hell, if they wanted to create space, they could. They could restructure a couple of contracts for players who are going to be here in 2023 and beyond, and then go from there. And then next year you say, well, the cap is going to be tight. Nah, it's not going to be tight at all, because something will be done with Dalvin, something will be done with Harrison, something will be done with Thielen, etc. So that's why, again, it just reinforces the mythiness of the cap, because it can always be shifted just a little bit. There. But that's it. Let's take a look at the Vikings salary cap situation over the next 5 years. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But until next time, Skull Production Value.